This is going to really ramp up the filtration for this pond, keeping it crystal clear. And the component with the wetland filter, it looks natural.
Brennan! Brennan!
Hey everybody, it's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. Today we're in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. We built 5 water features on this property. This is actually the original. We built this pond, I want to say it was like 7 to 9 years ago. Back then we just installed some biofilms filters. We got a 6,000 and a 2,500 to run the pond. Since then, the homeowners added more fish, increasing the fish load. She wants more filtration. So what we're going to do today is put an 8x10 constructed wetland filter off on the left side of the pond. There'll be a small waterfall entering back in there for circulation. We're gonna be pumping water from a second skimmer. So we're gonna put another skimmer directly to the right of that one with a separate pump for the wetland filter. That will keep that in circulation. And then we've got these beautiful waterfalls with their own filters. This should have plenty of filtration to add even more fish than she has now. The challenge here, this area actually drops off from the grade of the pond about like 14 or 15 inches. So we're gonna come on the backside, do some rock work, get some retention going so we can actually build this up. Then we're going to dig for our 8x10 constructed wetland filter. The entire inside perimeter of the top of this pond is going to come apart in this section. This way we can get to the pond liner. We're going to do a seam here from the pond onto our new wetland liner. This way it's nice and watertight, and then we'll build that waterfall going back in on this side. This is going to really ramp up the filtration for this pond, keeping it crystal clear. And the component with the wetland filter, it looks natural. It just looks like an extension of the pond. Beautiful little top pond, really, that's gonna have maybe 4 to 5 inches of water, so it'll look like a pond in itself. I'm excited to make this renovation happen. Let's get it going. Now we've got ourselves a waterfall coming into the pond. That's going to be right out of the wetland filter. We rebuilt the rockwork that was inside here, so now we're ready at this point to start digging for our filter. The second skimmer has been installed right next to this one. We're going to have a separate pump that runs just the wetland filter, and our 3-inch plumbing that was feeding this big waterfall is going to be run around the outside and reconnected to the original skimmer. Some of the things that we like to do with pump cords is make it so that we don't have to bury them in the dirt. And that's the reason for this 2-inch pipe right here. That pipe goes from inside the skimmer all the way over to where the electrical outlets are. This way that cord can just be pulled through without having to dig up the grass or move mulch or get stuck underneath roots, and makes it easy to take the pump in and out of the skimmer during the winter time. Over here we've got the existing liner from the pond. Now Boley's going to clean that up real well this morning. We're actually going to seam our wetland liner onto this, right in this section here where the water will be returning back into the pond. That'll get seamed up so we got a good watertight seal, and we're going to have no issues in the future with water backing up and going underneath the liner. Once that's done, we're going to do our excavation. We've got 10 foot this way, 8 foot this way. We're going to take and install our centipede and snorkel in this fashion here, where we've got access to the snorkel over there for cleanouts. We'll run our plumbing from this skimmer down into that snorkel, followed by our aqua blocks, and then our graduations of rock and gravel. I flushed my kids down in the club. I always keep that shit on top. My piece flushed like a disco ball. I dance like I don't give a fuck. Now we can go ahead and test fit our centipede module, which is what's down the bottom there, and the snorkel where Colby's at right now. Once those go in, we're going to actually place all of our aqua blocks in here. We want to make sure they're sitting nice and flat, bridging the gap over where that centipede is. We've also got a very slight pitch on our shelves headed back towards that center trough. what's going to happen is once this is full of rock and gravel and it's running, after about a season, this will all get washed down. So all the debris ends up inside the filter, can get washed down to the bottom and find its way into that centipede where it can then be evacuated by a clean out pump. That's one of the things that makes this filter so great is the long maintenance intervals. So basically once a season, this is going to get cleaned out. On top of that, it's going to look very natural, just like a top pool component of the pond, and it's adding a ton of surface area for that beneficial bacteria to live in. That's what this filter really is. It's a home for beneficial bacteria, and that's essentially what runs a water garden. All the components for the wetland are in. We installed our centipede, our snorkel, our layer of aqua blocks, and all those graduations of rock and gravel. And now we've got a big rectangle. So why don't we just fix this with some video magic? The wetland taking shape, so you can see it's starting to get the outline of like an upper pond or upper pool. All the rock work is done on the outside edges. Right now, Joe and Boley are just topping off that area back there. We're gonna kind of beach that out with some big gravel, leaving room for aquatic planting. So in these shallows here, probably put some aquatic plants in here. I like to put them towards the outside edges so we can keep some open water. And this is where it's going to exit back into the pond. That's all been sealed up. We seamed that liner onto our pond liner, foamed it all up, so this way the water will build up inside here, reach that weir, and it's going to go over the top back into the pond. We've got a little bit of grading left to do, but you can see just how much we brought this entire area up, quite a bit. When you're doing something like this, you're going to use quite a bit of soil as well. So we want to have some planting areas around the back of the wetland. There's our retaining outcropping work, leaving some dirt in between, adding some landscaping here to kind of soften things up and really complete the look. All we've got left is a little bit of grading, some touch up around the top, and we're just about ready to fire this up. Stick around, won't be long. Wow, what a difference. This is the reason for that fantastic water clarity. This wetland filter installation worked out perfectly over here on the side of the pond. We had just enough room to get this in. What we've got here is an 8x10 constructed wetland filter, small waterfall spilling back in. In order to make this work, we had to pump water up from the pond into here. And that's the reason we added a second Signature 1000 skimmer. It's got its own pump in here, drawing in, feeding that wetland filter, circulating back into the pond. We've got great push from the other side of the pond because we've got waterfalls and aeration, drawing everything down this end, so that whole column of water gets to pass through here and hit that filter. The plants that are inside here are doing phenomenal. Look at the size of this taro. Now, we finished this install about 4 months ago. This is humongous. That means there are just tons and tons of nutrients passing up through the media in this filter, being absorbed by these plants. That is a gorgeous plant right there. And you can see some of the other plants that are around here. We've got the pickerel weed, some rushes, some iris. They're just pulling up nutrients as the water passes through all this gravel in the filter. Not only is this filter extremely functional, it looks great. It's a beautiful aesthetic here on the side of the pond. We've got about 6 inches of water on top of the actual filter itself. This looks like a small ponding area. If this was a different scenario, there might be like a patio next to this, just expanding the enjoyment of this whole water feature. In order to make this happen, you guys saw us take this whole half of the pond apart to make that integration with the wetland filter liner and the pond liner. Once that was done, we rebuilt this section and added this waterfall. What the waterfall is doing is allowing the water that we're pumping into here to return to the pond. It also allows for aeration through the falling water into the pond. So as that water's agitating, it's aerating, just making the entire system healthier. And you just can't argue with these results. This pond is crystal clear right to the bottom. I can see every piece of gravel in there. I can see every fish very clearly. Before, it was cloudy all the time. She was struggling with it quite a bit. Now, this is an absolute paradise. How did you like this upgrade episode? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.